Well, good morning, everybody. Time for another episode of Meaning in the Madness, uh, and a more somber topic with the passing of Brent Hinds, just recently, formerly, of Mastodon. Um, I'm just going to do this off the cuff. I don't pretend like I know anything, or I'm not going to. I'll give my thoughts, but I don't think any of it's gospel, and I don't know if it's true. What do we know at the end of the day? I just got my coffee and wanted to share, a big tenet of the show: bring your testimony to the table, give your perspective. I can be right about my perspective, or at least right about believing my perspective. But at the end of the day, who knows? Who knows anything? Um, but uh, but I'll share some thoughts. Before that, I also just want to be clear. I had hung out with Brent a few times, but I want to make a distinction between me as I'm just a fan. I'm a fan who got to hang out with him a couple times, and all the folks that lost a brother. Tom Cheshire, Kelly Hester, Casey Yarbrough, Order of the Owl, Matt Pike, from High on Fire, like all those guys. They not only lost a unique and colossal talent of all time, but they also lost a brother. Um, Whereas I'm only dealing with a talent that meant so much to me through his music, and it's a difference, right? Um, It's a big difference. So I don't want to diminish like what they're going through. I'm in a totally different. They're in a totally different stratosphere. I'm here down on this level as a fan, um, trying to make meaning, trying to make sense of all this. Um, and I don't even know where I'm going to go with it. I really don't. I'm comforted by I'm comforted by certain perspectives that I've adopted over the years. Well, one, and this is just about death. One is Alan Watts. He's a philosopher, a Taoist, I would say, philosopher, who gave this metaphor that I think is very compelling, let's say. But he's like, imagine like you had the ability to, whenever you went to bed at night, you could dream whatever you wanted, and you would know you're in a dream, and you could have anything you wanted. Um, you could be totally rich, totally powerful. You could be, the hottest thing in your district, in your zip code, in the world. You can have all the women or men you could possibly imagine. Feast on the finest, feast in the finest dinners, drink the finest wine, all that stuff. Kind of like Brent Hinds' song, "The Beast." Now that I think about it, he had all the women and wine you'd ever need. I don't know. Maybe we'll make some connect the dots there too. But so imagine you could dream every dream, anything you wanted. Pretty soon, you'd probably get bored of having everything you could possibly want, and you want to throw some challenges in there, just to spice it up. Um, And so maybe you dream, hey, tonight I'm going to dream that I'm going to slay a dragon, or tonight I'm going to dream I'm a samurai warrior and get in massive battles and be a hero. But I'll have to go through the training and learn the skills. And in these dreams, soon you figure out you can make one dream last a lifetime. The time was not an issue. Yes, it might have been 8 hours last night, but in your dream, it was 1,000 years. You could do anything you wanted there. And then maybe that got old after a while. Maybe being the hero got old after a while, and you wanted to dream. You wanted to be more challenging to yourself, and you'd say, um, "I want more struggle. I want to dream that I have cancer. I want to dream that I'm handicapped. I want to dream that I'm a refugee. I want to dream that I'm in a community that's starving." Um, and then you may even say, in the ultimate challenge, say, hey, not only do I want to challenge myself and give myself a challenging lifetime when I go to sleep tonight, but I don't want to remember that I'm dreaming. I want to think that it's real. And then he goes on to say, hey, maybe that's what we're doing right now. I think that's a beautiful way to think of it. Do I know if it's true or not? Of course not. I don't know. But maybe Brent Hinds, maybe he said, you know what? I want to go down to earth and be a rock star and then realize that all I want to do is play music and that it's all about music. And then when I make that realization, I want to die in a motorcycle accident. I don't know. Um, and I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying that I guess it's possible. Um, but anyway, that's been something that comforts me. That this may just be a big dream, you know. Um, so that's something that I think about. You know, I was raised a Christian, going to church and all that, um, and while I don't really go to church anymore, I find it boring. I find it sort of, I kind of find it tired words that have lost their meaning. Um, and I'm sure that's not true of all churches. I'm sure that there's folks who really know how to spice it up. I've definitely had some pastors in my past that I really thought were intellectual and really connected the dots, made it real. Um, I'm not sure where I'm going with this either, but I know that whenever people focus on Jesus's teaching, I relax a little bit. Otherwise, I feel like the Bible is exploited and has been manipulated um, for control, um, and things like that. Yes, I'm paranoid about that, and sort of conspiracy theorist about the evolution of the written word. Um, but I mean, it doesn't mean that it's not. There's not a lot of value there. I think like Jesus. I believe that Jesus came to Earth, and maybe he didn't. Maybe he's made up, but I believe he did, and I believe that he could have been God incarnate. But what does that really mean? And to me, it means that he came to Earth without a veil. That he came to Earth knowing who he was. Um, which I think, at least right now, I think there's others like that. Not just the other big religious figures like the Buddha and whatnot, but I think there's people now that understand that. And I think maybe another reason for being on Earth is to understand our own godliness. And even Jesus said, and I'm using that because that's my frame of reference for how I grew up. There's probably some kind of a similar metaphor or teachings in other traditions. But he says, even you, he says this in James somewhere. Um, you basically paraphrase. He's like, you think I'm great with all these miracles. You're going to do far greater things than I do. The supposed Son of God, God incarnate, said that you will do far greater things than even I did. I take that as even you will understand who you are. You're gonna you're gonna understand who you are, and you're gonna be a creator like I am. You're gonna create great things. And so and this is my testimony with it, right? I'm trying to make meaning in the madness, and I'm just sharing some perspectives from my angle that I think if we're meaning in this whole madness of life in general, I think it's becoming who you are. And who you are is a single point in of focus in in all of creation. So you're part of creation and you're part of the creator. Um, if you want to phrase it that way. But that comes with, in my opinion, tremendous power. Um, Tremendous power to unlock and to pursue. And I could go on and on about this stuff. I'm really kind of into it right now. For me, it's been removing things that are blocking that power. Um, I quit drinking. I felt like that drinking kind of put a veil up to that power again. It helped me forget who I was. Whereas by not, I'm more in tune. My antenna is in tune to who it is that I am, or at least more so. I do get it through like meditation and stuff like that. I don't think you necessarily need to do it that way, but for me, um, that has worked again to remember who I am. Um, and who do I want to be? What's the purpose of all this? Well, I think the purpose is to understand what is blissful to you and then follow it. I think you're being a single focus of creation is you have a job to do, and that job is going to bring you the greatest happiness of all time. And you just got to figure out what it is and follow it, and not be afraid to follow it because you know who you are. You are a creator, and you know that if you get on the right path, um, things will open up for you. If you have faith that they will, if you live the wish fulfilled. So, and that's getting down another little rabbit hole. But if you can believe it, and if it's really truly meant to be your purpose, I think it makes it easier to believe. If you believe it, you'll see things manifest in your life to reinforce it. Forces will conspire, to quote Legion X in top 10 heavy albums of all time that we just posted yesterday. So I believe that's what I believe. I believe in all that stuff right now. And so for me, I just want to I love this channel. I want to make this channel grow, and I have these goals. I have these goals and objectives, and I know that when I work on these goals and objectives, it makes me very happy. Um, and so all the other stuff is just noise. It's just noise. And it's either not real or I'm going to pretend that it's not real so it goes away. And so that's kind of the other thing that is not easy. I think takes practice to cut out the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. If you want to talk Wall Street language, the FUD, to cut it out, to not let it in the door to your brain. Cut all that stuff out. because that's just going to get in the way. If you latch onto that and start believing all that fear, uncertainty, and doubt, then you're going to sabotage the passion and the dream. And that's easier said than done. I think it takes practice. I envision a bouncer in my head. I call him Ned. Maybe I'm schizophrenic. I don't know. But that keeps all that junk out. And I'm following my bliss. And if what's coming out here, that's just residual from the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that I held yesterday. And that's going to take some time to go away. But I'm going to focus on my dream, on my bliss. And anybody who gets in the way of my bliss, there or anything, they're out. Um, so that's a long lecture, but hopefully you don't take it as a lecture and take it just as me providing, where I'm at, how I make sense of all this. And so, and that ties back to, how do I make sense of loss? How do I make sense of the passing of like the greatest, one of the greatest talents of our generation? Um, and I guess that's how I make sense of it. Brent, I think he pursued his bliss, man. And did he make it? Um, I think he made it, then realized he didn't want it. If we're talking about fame and fortune, again, I don't know him. I don't know him personally. I kind of got the feeling though that towards the end, he's like, okay, I've tasted this. I don't need that. I followed my bliss, and then I realized I didn't need that part of it. And then realized that, I just want to make music with my friends. I just want to play. And I just want to play with freedom and not be constrained. And he got there. So I think we can celebrate that, right? Um, and we still have his music. It might make us cry more when we listen to it, honestly. Um, what is it? The Cold Dark Place. The song he sings about losing his, like in his relationship. Um, Cold Dark Place is the title track. I cry every time I hear that song, even when Brent was living. It's just something about it, man. There's so much emotion in that song. And he's like, I think I'm gonna die inside my skin. I cry at that moment every time. Every 100% every time I listen to that song. It's making me well up now just thinking of it. But so maybe that's helpful. Maybe it's not. I thought I'd share where I'm at. Maybe it'll provide some comfort. Maybe it'll resonate with you. Maybe it won't. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. I think we need to share more of these things with each other. This is what radical metal is all about: bring testimony to the table and dignity in the discourse. Um, and maybe now it's also about focusing on the positive and not letting the FUD monster, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, in the door. So maybe we'll talk more about that. Anyway, tell me what you think. I love you. Take care, uh, and be there for each other. If you need me, reach out. I'll try to be there for you. And with that, we'll close this week's Meaning in the Madness. Take care.